good, man? How's everybody doing? Happy Wednesday. Welcome in, y'all. How's everybody doing out there, man? I hope y'all doing good. How's y'all weekend? How's y'all Monday and Tuesday, man? How's y'all Wednesday going so far, man? Welcome in. Yeah, we back, baby. We got some stuff to talk about today, man. Let's go. Yes, sirski. Oh man, I'm so happy to be back. Just to come kicking with y'all, talking with y'all as always, man. Come in, gather round. Alright, man, I think that's we settled in, baby. Yes, sirski. Alright, man, how's everybody out there doing? And welcome to another episode of the Jayson Estrera Show, where we talk about basketball as accurate as possible. Now, today, we got some big stuff to talk about, man. The other night, we were able to see in real life this Luka Doncic trade. Because I got to tell y'all, up until actually watching that game, I still thought it was fake. The trade deadline had passed and everything. I still thought it was fake. So we'll be talking all about that. Kevin Durant had a historic moment, hit a massive milestone last night. We'll be talking about that as well too, along with the state of the NBA. But first and foremost, man, I wanted to just check in with you guys. I know I wasn't here on Monday. I popped in Monday night, right? We got to go watch the Luka Doncic debut together, but obviously I didn't get to do a show because I was away for the weekend. Now, it really brought me back to this, right? Because flying on the way home, it was actually pretty chill. It was pretty chill. I had this whole thing with the aisle seat with the lady on my flight, but that reminded me of this time. I want to say it was like 2017, I think, ish. Maybe around that time, 2018, 2017. And, you know, my girlfriend, our friends, and I, her siblings, we went to LA. We're flying to LA from New York, right? And so I'm in the aisle seat. My girl's brother is, I want to say my girl's brother was next to me, or she was at the end. I don't remember how it worked out exactly. Or she was next to me. Her brother was at the end. I forget exactly how it worked out. But, you know, so I'm in the aisle, right? And so there's a guy coming up, right? Guys walking through the aisle, walking to the back, because we were by the emergency exit door. And it was Shiggy. And at this time, Shiggy was the guy. Like, he was on the Drake music video. He was dancing everywhere. Honestly, by this point, he was probably tired of dancing, but he was everywhere. He was popping at the time. And so he popped by. He's walking through, and I just give him a dap. I'm like, Shiggy. Like, I said it under my, I was like, Shiggy. And then I dapped him up real quick. And then he just kept it pushing. That was it. I essentially said, "What's up?" Dapped him up, and then he just kept moving. And my girl's brother was like, "What the fuck was that? Like, you know that guy? Like, you went to school with him? Like, you played basketball with him? Like, who was that guy?" I was like, "That was Shiggy." He goes, "Shiggy who?" I was like, "Shiggy, the guy that dances on all the videos and everything." He goes, "What the fuck? How you just dap him up so casually?" And I was like, "Well, I wasn't trying to make it hot." But that was just such a random encounter on a plane. And then I think when we got off the flight, I ended up seeing him at the car rental spot that I was going to. I think he was with like one or two other people. But yeah, just super random. Super random, because I had to deal with the aisle seat on my flight coming back home, but it all worked out just fine. We're here, we're back. Seattle's beautiful, by the way. Seattle's beautiful, so that was a whole lot of fun. But let's get right into it. Like I said, we're gonna be talking a lot about today the passing of the torch, right? We on Monday night in LA, which was honestly really perfect, right? In LA, we saw Luka, the 25-year-old phenom, take the floor with the 40-year-old legend in LeBron James. And like I said, last night we just saw Kevin Durant hit a milestone. 30,000 points. VS1. What's good? What's good, Elijah? What's good, Elijah? What's good? What's good, Big Eli? What's good? How you doing, brother? How you doing, man? How you doing? But we saw Kevin Durant hit 30,000 points last night, right? So it got me to thinking of the passing of the torch, the next generation of players who will be the next face of the NBA. So throughout this conversation that we end up having today, we'll try to see if we can kind of find who that person can be potentially. I have some names, some ideas, obviously, but we'll talk it through. So I wanted to start right there, right? So let's start. Yeah, you got sold. Hey, I wanted to make an entrance. My pocket sold me. I'm weak. Hey, it was worth the effort. God, my allergies been kicking my ass, bro. I gotta go get some allergy medicine later. But let's see. How many buckets does KD have? Let's see. Kevin Durant, 30,008 points. He's in the 30K club. 9th in all-time points in the NBA, right? So, I mean, first and foremost, right? That's a lot of buckets. like you got to think, like, that's a lot of buckets, man. Like, no funny shit. That is a lot of buckets. And you just, KD gets a lot of shit, right? Let's just keep it about. Let's just keep it a buck, right? Let's just be honest. Kevin Durant gets a lot of shit, right? And so to see him get to this marker, and obviously injuries was a thing. You get your minor setbacks and whatnot. So those things factor in when it comes to reaching accolades or milestones like this. So to be in this club is honestly unbelievable, right? 17,000 buckets in OKC. Think about that. 17K on the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? And then obviously he gave up some of the scoring freedom and some of the stats to go with the Warriors, to go to Brooklyn, and then to go to Phoenix, right? Because in order to win, you got to have stars with you. And he's been trying to chase that, obviously, and in turn has kind of lessened, his stats have taken a little bit of a hit. And then also there's the one whole year that he did not play, right? So many things factor into this, right? What was this? 2014-15, he also had an injury. Only played 27 games that year. So, there are definitely a couple of things here, right? So he realistically, let's take a look at this. He's at 30,000. Let's call it 1,500 points for This year, maybe, if he would have played a full year, somewhere over here, there's another, yeah, look, 27 games here. Like, let's say another 1,500 between this year alone. How many? He had 680. Let's call it another 700. So you're looking at another almost 3,000 points that Kevin Durant could have had in addition to this. He would have been hit this years ago. And he'd be at closer to 33,000. You know, he'd already be in the top 5, top 4. He might have already passed MJ by now if it weren't for some of those minor setbacks. And it makes what LeBron James has done, the 40K, you know, granted, whether you think he's a pure scorer or not or whatever, the feat is still unbelievable in itself to be that consistent for that long. Because obviously Kevin Durant is one of the greatest scorers that we have ever seen, and he is at 30,008 points over 17 seasons. So unbelievable. But this leads me to this question, right? Because I saw some people, talking about it. Where do you rank Kevin Durant? Right? There's a lot of people that, if I were to take a guess right now, right, just based on what we've seen, the conversation around Kevin Durant's name is online, in the media, the way people perceive him. If I had to take a guess, I think a majority of people would not have Kevin Durant in the top 10 of all time. I think in terms of Kevin Durant, pure skill and talent alone, easily a top 10 player. So let's talk about it, right? Because I think Kevin Durant is a very, very interesting name that gets brought up in these conversations, right? Because in terms of pure talent, pure skill, in terms of just the game of basketball itself, he checks off all of the boxes pretty much. He has a unicorn in terms of his size and length, his ability to move. It's unreal. He has accolades, right? He has championships. He has MVP. He has one MVP award? I don't want to misspeak. 2-time All-Star Game MVP, 1-time regular season MVP, 2 times Finals MVP. So multiple MVP awards, right? And so I think personally you can argue it, right? I think you can definitely argue Kevin Durant as a top 10 player. This is where I think it gets interesting. Because for a long time, I've had this way of thinking for a very long time, and I'll give it to you guys, right? When I have these greatest of all time conversations. I know there's a lot of people that do it differently, right? There are some people that say, oh, the first 5 players should be the best players from each of their positions. Yada, 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 so on and so forth. People are individual accolades. Some people are championships, whatever the case might be, is right. But I will say, when putting someone in the top 10 of all time, I do look at the people in their position. I really, really do. And Kevin Durant, me personally, I would consider him a small forward. I'm curious as to what they actually put him for in all of these. He was a small forward all throughout Golden State, and he has been a power forward ever since Brooklyn. So more than half of his career, he's been a small forward. And so I would consider him a small forward, right? And I did the same thing for LeBron. For a long time, I was like, You can't compare LeBron straight to Michael Jordan. You have to knock everybody else off of the list. All right, so we got to go, okay, Shaq. We got to go Magic. We got to go Kareem. We got to go Larry. We got to go this, that, and the third. Similar to LeBron, Larry Bird's name comes up for me. Because Larry Bird oftentimes gets overlooked in these conversations, right? Just usually does not get brought up in any of these conversations. And I was actually surprised, right, when looking at the stats. I was genuinely surprised that Larry Bird even got to 21,000 points in the NBA. Not because of, I think he's not good, but I know his career wasn't that long. And then when you take into account the fact that Larry Bird played with Hall of Famers, some of the best players in their positions at the time, you would think his stats would suffer. And so, for his career, Larry Bird, for his career, averaged 24.3, 10 rebounds, 6.3 assists on 49.6 from the field, 37.6 from three, and 88.6% from the free throw line. Doesn't end there, right? That's just the statistics. 3-time NBA champion. One time, I don't really care for that actually. 3-time MVP. 2 times Finals MVP. And 3 times All Defense. You can't just jump over Larry Bird, in my opinion. And you compare that to, and don't get me wrong, these numbers are also insane for Kevin Durant. For his career, Kevin Durant, 27.1, 6 rebounds. Here, let's take a look at it together. 4.1 assists on 52.8 field goal from the field, and 40.4 from 3, 82.2 from the line. 11-time All-NBA, 2 times Finals MVP, 2013-14 MVP, 2-time NBA champion, 4-time scoring champ. And so, here, we could take a look at Larry Bird's stats as well, just so if you guys want to see really quickly. 10-time All-NBA. Out of his 13 years in the league, 10-time All-NBA. 3-time All-Defensive, Finals, 3-time MVP, so on and so forth, right? So, when you put these two guys next to each other, right, I think some people would say, on face value, it's clear cut that Kevin Durant would be better, especially modern day. But when you really look at it, it's not that simple for me. Larry Bird was really fucking good at basketball, right? And I think the major difference between them is obviously the 3-time All-Defense. And something that we've had conversations about before, right, when it comes to Kevin Durant, is the leadership aspect. When we think about all of these top 10 players, Michael, Bron, Kobe, whoever, Shaq, Kareem, Magic, Bird, all of these players are some of the best leaders that we have seen in basketball. And I think that is just the one thing that Kevin Durant has lacked a little bit. Granted, if his toe wasn't on the line in Brooklyn, if they would have won the championship, and if he didn't get hurt, or even if Klay didn't get hurt and they win a championship for that three-peat, and he has potentially 4 titles, Kevin Durant does, we could be having a very different conversation, right? But they still count. And I think the one difference that I just can see is he just doesn't have that personality in terms of leadership that all of these other guys do. But the basketball stuff is all there for Kevin Durant. And if, some people argue all that other stuff doesn't matter. Some people argue that it does. But I think you can definitely make the case for Kevin Durant. This does lead me into this other thought that I have. Can we consider you a top 10 player if you are not top 2 in your position? Can you do that? Is that possible? If you are not a top 2 player at your position, can we put you in a top 10? Because I think that's sort of what happened with Steph. There were some people that were saying it, right? But it wasn't until people were legitimately having the Magic Johnson versus Steph Curry debate was when people were like, oh, I think he could be top 10. And so I do think personally you have to be a top 2 player in your position to be a top in the conversation of a top 10 player of all time, because you have to be that dominant. Granted, some positions might be deeper. Pause. I have to catch myself. But, some of them, they might have a longer list of players that are really great compared to others. Like if you think of the top 10 in power forwards, the only one that probably makes it in is Tim Duncan. I'm trying to think of anybody else that will make it in. Probably just Tim. I think that's pretty much it. I think you could probably argue like 2 or 3 centers, 2 point guards, right? A guard, and then small forwards. I think would probably be about how the top 10 shakes out in terms of positions. But yeah, man, I think it's an interesting conversation to have. I do think it's crazy how Kevin Durant should have more, man. Like a whole year, 2019-20 that he missed. Let me see. Between 2022-2023, he only played like 40. He only played like 47 games. So he really should have a lot more, man. He should have a lot more points than that. What's good, Bruce? What's good, Big Bruce? Kobe could be top 10. MJ top 10. That's already 2. Bird, James. I think Kobe is definitely top 10. Top 5. I don't think Kobe falls beyond top 5 for me. For me, in my opinion. And then you get Shaq and Kareem. Shaq, Kareem, Wilt. Shaq, Kareem, Wilt, and trying to think of another name. There's another name that I'm missing right now too. Who is it? KD not even top 25. LOL. See, I don't agree with that. Russell built He got right to the shits. He forgot to say hi. Yeah, it's good. You talking about Bill Russell or Russell Westbrook? I think you could argue KD top in the top 10. I think you could argue it. Do you win it? No, I don't know if you win that. Am I wilding if I put Timmy over Kareem? I think you're bugging. I think you're bugging. You know the funny thing? It's funny you bring up Tim Duncan. I think very quietly, low key, Tim Duncan and Kevin Durant are very similar. Right? Because if you think about if Tim Duncan had the same numbers and didn't get the championships, even though Tim Duncan is really, really good, but because Tim Duncan was never the super loud, boisterous guy, he's not going to tell you about how good he is. Would he be considered as good? And that's not to say that Tim Duncan is not good, obviously, but I think well, I'm just saying because I think Tim Duncan in terms of basketball, I don't think there's many flaws in Tim Duncan's game, right? In terms of just pure basketball, he ended up in a great situation. And they won a whole lot because of him. But Kevin Durant moving from city to city, team to team, it's hard to get cohesion, honestly. And especially too, let's say if KD would have got the other two championships that had 4 instead of 2, could be a really different conversation. Is all I'm saying. If you're playing with all great players and there are 10 teams in the league, Bill Russell, Hakeem is top 10 to me. I love Hakeem. I don't know if he gets top 10. At least now there's so many players right now. I mean, put Duncan instead of KD on OKC and they beat Miami that year. Are we talking about the same age? Are we talking about the same age? That matters too. They were young. They should have kept that team together. That team would have changed. That team would have changed a lot. That OKC team. Oh, we gotta talk about that too. Actually, speaking of no Hakeem. No, I'm telling you, Bruce. I love Hakeem's game. I mean, if you just think about, let's see. If I'm talking about personal favorites, Hakeem Olajuwon is my favorite big man of all time. I think he got the cleanest game ever. He's unreal, bro. Unreal. What's his totals like? Nah, you know what? I might have been. Who would we take out? Oh, I think. Wait, hold on. Hold up. If we're doing top 10s, right? Do you guys have Steph Curry in your top 10? Yes or no? Is Steph Curry your best point guard ever? Yes or no? Over Magic? I'm curious. What would you guys? What would you guys have Steph in your top 10 of all time? Because there's some people that think he's the best point guard ever. So if he's the best point guard ever, you'd have to kind of put him in the top 10, right? Am I bugging for that? You'd have to put him in the top 10, right? And then you would have to, because Because then you'd have to, like, because the way I'm thinking about it, if you put Steph in the top 10, that means somebody getting pushed out, essentially. Right? So, like, who would get pushed out? I think Bill Russell is probably somebody that a lot of people had on the list, so it'd probably be Bill Russell, right? That would probably get pushed out of that. 42% shooting as a big man is not going to cut it for me, bro. Curry is the best player that has played the point guard position. Magic is the best point guard ever. I do think that is important. I do think that that's important, right? If you consider Steph Curry the best point guard ever, I do think it's important to note that he does not play the position the way it was originally meant to be played. And changes happen, and that's totally fine. But it is a very... Because someone will look at Steph Curry's stats and Magic Johnson's stats, and somebody would probably be like, what the fuck are we even talking about? Not realizing how much Magic controlled the game of basketball. And then when you take into account, Magic is 6'9". The defense that you can put on Magic versus the defense that you can put on Steph Curry are two very different things. And without other stars around Steph Curry, and this isn't his fault necessarily, but we've seen what the Golden State Warriors look like with just Steph Curry. And he is able to do his thing, but in terms of carrying and winning as a team, because of his size, I think he has some difficulty doing that, because there are ways to defend him that can be effective. So what people overthink it. Steph can pass, shoot, defend, etc. Curry is a shooting guard that had to play point guard because of his physique. I mean, like I said, right? It's I guess not his fault necessarily, and he's still a good point guard. But let's be honest, on that team, especially when they were winning, the point guard was Draymond. Like, Draymond Green was essentially the point guard of that team, and Curry and Clay were both Reggie Millers. They had two Reggie Millers that were assassin snipers. With a Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman point guard, and then a fucking 6'9" mid-range Kobe Bryant. That's what the Golden State Warriors were at their peak, right, during their winning years. So, yeah, I love these top 10 convos are really cool. That's what I wanted to bring up with Kevin Durant, because of what happened with the Mark Williams trade recently, the fact that it got rescinded, right? So I was looking up other trades that had gotten rescinded, and one of them was Tyson Chandler. Tyson Chandler was supposed to go to the Oklahoma City Thunder the year before they drafted James Harden, meaning he would have joined Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Tyson Chandler would have been there. Obviously, the trade got rescinded. I think it was in 2009, and then they eventually, Chandler was in Phoenix, and then he ended up in Dallas, and they won the championship, right? But think about how crazy that could have been, right? Because you Bruce, you just spoke about the Miami Heat series, right? Let's assume, because Russell Westbrook was the point guard, Kevin Durant was the small forward at the time, let's assume that they would have drafted James Harden the following year anyway and had Tyson Chandler, right? So now, looking at that team, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Tyson Chandler, they probably wouldn't have needed to draft a Serge Ibaka, right? They could have drafted a different type of power forward at the time, maybe a stretch four, maybe a more scoring-oriented four, that could have fit the rest of the team because of what Tyson Chandler did, right? The other big what if is they wouldn't have needed Kendrick Perkins as much, if at all, which I think would have done a lot of good for that team, if I'm being honest with you. So, we talk about massive trades and what ifs. Tyson Chandler could have really impacted the way basketball history could have played out, right? Imagine he would have stayed there and he would have gotten a ring with the Oklahoma City Thunder and those young guys. They wouldn't have had to deal with we have 4 guys, young guys that we have to sign with Russell Westbrook, Harden, KD, and Serge Ibaka. They wouldn't have had that issue necessarily. But, it didn't work out the other way. Obviously, that team got blown up, and, we have what we have. But what an interesting little piece of history that could have impacted this top 10 list that we were just talking about, right? So that was insane. But I wanted to take a look at this as well too.
This is going to make it back-to-back wins in Phoenix this year. They'll match up again at the end of February. They'll play again in March. Kevin Durant.
He one of the greats. So I honored him with the ball. He said he ain't care too much about it, but hey, everybody don't get 30K in this league. So hats off to him, and I hope he keep going. We want to see him out here.
And that was, I gotta give Ja a lot of credit, because I feel like Ja has handled his return so well, right? I think it's going very unnoticed and under the radar. The way he's handled returning to basketball after all the gun stuff, right? Because Ja has managed to find a way to be himself still without taking away from the team and what they have built over the last year, and also without putting himself in a negative light and getting himself into trouble. What the heck is going on with Ja Call of Duty Morant eyebrows? That's his swag, bro. That's his swag. You don't like it? You don't like it? And then obviously giving the ball to Kevin Durant and saying what he said, right? Because we had this conversation about Anthony Edwards and the way, as the kids would call it, the way he glazes over some of these players. It's great to have idols and it's great to talk about certain people in a certain way, but you're also competing with them. And I think the way that Ja has approached these conversations when it comes to competition and competitiveness, it's been a healthy balance of, I appreciate you, I respect you, but you're still the ops and I'm still competing with you. He did it with Bron. Even with this, the way he gave the ball to, let's take a look at how he gave the ball to KD, right? Look how he gave the ball to KD. Look, he's like, he's not even looking at him. He's not even looking at him. He's like,
They'll match up again.
He still wanted it to look kind of tough. And so I just love the way that Ja has carried himself and the way that he's handled himself this year, right? Because I think a lot of people were worried. And I've seen nothing but great professionalism and just a stand-up dude. And the other part is he's still extremely popular when it comes to the kids, right? His sneaker was really popular. His likeness was really, he's just a really popular player. And I've seen some people bring it up before. I've spoken about it. Ja can become the next face of the league, right? And I think that it's going to take a little bit. I think he might have to leave Memphis as well too. But when you think about someone that handles the competition the way that we as fans like it, right? We always say he's with all the smoke. I don't know if y'all remember the way he went at LeBron and all that stuff earlier in the year. The way he goes at people, it's great to watch, but still keeps it with the respect if he needs to. His game is exciting, but his game is also unselfish. We were just talking about point guards. Ja is a point guard. Ja is a point guard. He's not. He can score the ball really well, but he is a point guard. And when you just think about charisma, popularity, and all of these things, I think Ja would be a great candidate to be the face of the league. And just talk about a 180, right? It almost feels like one of those things where Allen Iverson had to go through what he had to go through, so someone like Ja Morant can get elevated at this time, and that's really, really cool to see. So, salute to Ja. Salute to Ja, the way that he had handled that, giving the ball to KD, but not being too lovey-dovey, like, you know what I'm saying? I thought that was great. I thought that was really great the way that he took care of that. But yeah, let's move right along. So from one legend and potential face of the league to another, right, being LeBron James and Luka Doncic, right? We obviously saw the Luka debut versus, who is that? The Utah Jazz, right? Am I bugging? It was the Utah Jazz, right? I'm not bugging, right? Yes, versus the Utah Jazz. I said it during the game, if y'all were able to catch it with me, but talk about the perfect tune-up game. I mean, the Jazz, they're not a good basketball team. Very far from it. They're not a good basketball team. They were at home. I think the Lakers are on a winning streak, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so a lot of positive things, right? If you look at that situation and what Luka was going into, it was as good as, they're on a 6-game winning streak now after that game, right? So it was as good as it was going to get. And we got a little taste of what the Los Angeles Lakers could look like. I'm still not totally convinced that this works. These two players, LeBron James and Luka Doncic, are very similar. They're very similar. I'm curious to see, I'm curious to hear what they think about this, right? Because especially as great players, I think it's very rare that another player sees the game the way that you do and makes the same or very similar reads the way that you do. And when you look at both LeBron James and Luka Doncic, I do think that they see the game in a very similar way. I mean, the game started with 2 alley-oops. They both got an alley-oop in back-to-back possessions to start the game out to Jackson Hayes. And, obviously LeBron's athleticism is not the same, obviously. And, the way that Luka scores, obviously it's not exactly the same. But I do think as point guards and the way that they watch basketball, I do think they see it very similar. And I wonder if that will be a clash. Or are they going to hash this out? Right? Because The reality about LeBron is this, right? And he had 24 that night, 10 of 17 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. LeBron is not just a very capable player in the league. He's still a top player in the league. And when it comes to winning and knowing how to win, you're not going to find many people that know it better than he does. But he's also 40. So relying on a 40-year-old, even if they're a top 10 player, top 5 player, whatever, however you rank him in this league, relying on someone that's 40 is still going to be hard. And I would imagine someone like LeBron, who by all accounts is a control freak, right? If you've seen anything about him and the way he manages the game of basketball and plays, he's a control freak. And if you've ever been around anyone who is like that, it's very difficult for them to relinquish control. It's extremely difficult. Because in their eyes, no one is going to do it better than they have, especially if they're proven. You'll have to show it to them that you could do it the same, if not better than they can. And even though Luka is the phenom, the 25-year-old all-NBA player, supposed to be the guy for the next 10 years, supposed to be all of these things are great. To LeBron, you're supposed to be those things. I already am. And I don't think you can underplay that dynamic because it matters. Now, does LeBron have this understanding that he's 40 and that in order for him to kind of phase out and win, he's going to have to, in real time and very quickly, transfer all of his knowledge to Luka? Is that the realization that he gets to? Or does he say, no, we're still 1A and 1B? And will they suffer as a result of that? I don't know. Time will tell. I will say, like I said the other day, if you got to play these guys in the playoffs, good luck. Good luck. It'll be hard. It'll be really difficult. Excuse me. It'll be really difficult to take them out. I saw something with Shannon Sharp guaranteed that if they play against the Oklahoma City Thunder, that they would take the Oklahoma City Thunder out. Now, I don't think I agree with that. Or I'll say in more definitive terms. I don't agree with that. But I do think it will be a much more difficult series than some people might anticipate. Now, if they played the Houston Rockets, I think the Rockets get destroyed. If you played the Clippers, I think there's a good chance they could probably beat the Clippers. It's when when they got to play the Denvers, OKC, Memphis even, I think, because the way Ja plays and the way he goes at LA. And honestly, even with their struggles, right? I do think Anthony Edwards is still a really good player in this league, and he will be a tough out. He'd still be a tough out. So the Lakers have definitely improved, but they still got a ways to go. I think Luka still needs to get in shape. I know that he tried to underplay it. I know that he tried to say that it's not real or whatnot, but he doesn't look great out there. Right? He does not look great out there. He still runs very slow. And like I said, he doesn't need to turn into LeBron James. Right? I think there's some people that get it messed up when we say he can get in better shape or he needs to drop some weight. No, he don't need a 6-pack. He don't even need a 4-pack. He just needs to drop some weight so he could be quicker, be a little faster. Like, he runs in slow motion sometimes. And something that he did so well, which is keeping people at his hip and playing like that, damn near it feels like that's all he does. Like, he can't get past no one off his first step no more. So I would love to see him drop some weight and really kill the NBA. I'm not gonna lie to you. Let's take a look at this though, because obviously there are a ton of reactions throughout the league. But I think this was actually this was a very unique one. Let's take a look at this.
I mean, yeah, that was a big trade and a big change. But, you know, I'm not a little kid anymore, so I don't really watch the Lakers play. I'm a big Celtics fan.
Only person he would ever say something else to get under his skin would be Luka, bro. Anytime we mention Luka, even though it definitely ain't no beef with them or no, it's just competitive spirit. But ET would be like, yeah, Luka cold. I'll be like, ooh, JT about to get 40 tonight. About to go crazy. I was like, say it again, ET. Like, before the game, we about to play somebody, like, talk about Luka. ET would be like,
that's funny.
My favorite player is Luka. ET be like, JC would be like, why? I'll be like, she cold, though. You know what I mean? I'm like, he is cold, though. I knew he was going to get at least a 32-point performance. We on the bench. We just want to see somebody kill.
And I think this is obviously that's really funny, and I there is no real beef between these guys. I think it's just a matter of Tatum feels like he's the best, if not one of the best players in the league. Luka gets spoken about in that way in the media a lot more than JT does, and he probably feels whatever the case may be. So it's not real beef. But this is something I didn't take into account. The Lakers are planning on having Luka for the next 10 years, right? The Celtics are probably planning on having Jayson Tatum for probably the next 8 to 10 years too. The Lakers-Celtics rivalry will continue to live on. I can't believe I didn't see this. I can't believe I did not catch this. These two teams, these two cities have already had a rivalry. And now you put the other player that is Tatum's rival on that team. Guys, we're about to be in for a treat for the next decade, y'all. I'm not going to hold you, but I think we're really in for a treat for the next decade. Because we're about to have Lakers, Celtics damn near year in and year out. Because how did I miss this part? How did I miss this part? This is unbelievable. And, excuse me, Tatum should feel offended anytime somebody else gets brought up as better than him. He should. He 100% should feel offended. So should Luka. And that's what makes this beautiful, right? These are two guys that are going to match up. They're going to play against each other. They're going to lead their teams. The NBA is back, y'all. Like, I don't know. I've been talking about it since the beginning of the year, but I don't know if y'all see what's going on with the NBA. We're going back to NBC. We have a Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Lakers rivalry that's being what would be the term? It's being re-energized, and with two young superstar potential faces of the league. I mean, this is what we have to look forward to for the next 10 years. And it's super exciting. And, Tatum's been killing. I don't know if y'all noticed, right? But for the last week or so, I don't know if it was the Luka thing, I don't know if it's the Luka trade. I don't know what it is, but Tatum been killing. He's been killing. And I told you guys already, the stretch until the All-Star game is going to be very key. We'll see exactly what Boston Celtics team we can look to expect in the, I want to say the first 2 weeks after the All-Star break. We'll see exactly what team we're going to get. And if this is the same championship team that we saw last year. Because, listen to me clear, right? If the Boston Celtics win a championship again this year, all the people that call rigged, oh, the NBA is rigged, you best believe the Lakers gonna get some shit. You best believe the Lakers are gonna get some shit. Especially if the Boston Celtics win this year. Oh, the NBA is about to get real spicy and entertaining. Like, I'm excited. I'm excited because the next decade is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. Again, I love the competition. I love the fact that all these guys are going at each other. Tatum is another one. Potential face of the league. Granted, I personally think if he was gonna be the face of the league, he kind of would have already been, with all of the success that he's had being in a major market. But I don't know. Who knows? Also, right, this is the first time in a long time where the three major markets, LA, Boston, and New York, all have superstars and are all competitive. And I think when that's the case, it elevates the entire league. Jimmy Butler just went to the Golden State Warriors, who's become a really massive market over the last 10 years, to go with Steph Curry. So the NBA is elevating still. So to all the people that were talking shit, like we here, man. We here. What was the last thing I wanted to... I think there was one more thing I wanted to touch on today. What the fuck? Oh! Yo, this guy, bro. This guy. Do you hear this guy? You guys hear this guy, Elijah? Y'all signed Brandon Ingram. Now you over here talking Toronto. Fuck out of here. Toronto. Vince Carter ain't coming out that tunnel, bro. You ain't got no Vince Carter coming out there. Oh shit. Oh, by the way, my homie was talking to me about he was talking to me about parlays. But peep this, Elijah. My homie called me yesterday because he knows I love basketball. I'm talking about it all the time. He was like, "Yo, what you think?" So he's asking me about parlays. You want to know who fucked it all up yesterday, Elijah? You want to know who fucked it all up? Do you want to know who fucked that shit all up? It was Emmanuel Quickley and your fucking Toronto Raptors, bro. It looks so free. But Emmanuel Quickley decided to turn into Steph Curry in the fucking first half. Like, bro, that shit pissed me off. God damn it. I was like, bro, I seen the line for Emmanuel Quickley. I'm like, there is no way on God's green earth he gets over 15.5. Motherfucker had 18 in like the first half. I was like, bro. Oh my God, that shit. Hey, man. Hey, but speaking of, actually, that's perfect, because speaking of the Philadelphia 76ers, right, I wanted to have this Joel Embiid conversation really quickly, because I think it's time to have this conversation when it comes to Joel Embiid, who let's take a look at, let's do this. Let's do him the favor and see. Let's see here. Excuse me. So the Philadelphia 76ers are currently 20-33. Right? 20-33. And Joel Embiid this year has only played 17 games. 17 games, y'all. 17 games this year for Joel Embiid. Out of the 53 games. I'm gonna go beyond what you just said there, Elijah. He should have been traded and PG should have not been signed. I'll go even further than what you're saying, because Joel Embiid the other day spoke about how he thinks he'll need another major surgery and he'll have to sit down for an extended period of time in order to return. Joel Embiid, I think you should retire. And here's why. Your career started off with injuries. You didn't play those first 2 years, right? And ever since then, your career has been filled with injuries. So, even going into this season, before you've missed all of these games this year, no one would have assumed that you would play until you were 40. I'm sure a lot of us would have assumed that you'd play until maybe 34, 35, 36, somewhere in that range. And so, you know, when people have the major decline where they're barely playing, especially the big guys, it's usually the last 2 years of their careers, right? So if you're playing until you're 39, usually 37, 38, 39, you're dog shit already. Just out there doing cardio. Looking at Joel Embiid and the way his career has gone, if we're to assume he would have only played until he was 35, those shitty years would be starting at 33, 34, 35. Right now, Joel Embiid is 30 years old, right? 30 years old. His birthday is March 16. So he's about to turn 31. Let's assume he gets surgery at the end of this season, or even now. Let's say he gets it tomorrow. Misses all of next year. By the end of next year, he would be 32. What's that? 25, 26, right? He wouldn't be suiting up until the 26-27 season. Where by the end of that year, he'll be 33. Half of that year will be him trying to get back into where he was at the MVP level. At 32 years old. I'm trying to do you a favor, Joel Embiid, because the longer this goes on, the worse your name looks. The more games that you're missing the more games you're missing and getting paid, that's good. That's not going to be balanced anymore. By the time that comes around, you would have probably missed more games than you've played in the NBA. And fans are going to hate you for it. So rather than going through all of that, coming back thinking you're still the MVP at 32 years old, trying to recover, just call it. Just call it, bro. Do yourself a favor. Salvage what's left of your name in the public eye. Come up with a podcast or do some other business. And just call it, man. Because you're not doing yourself any favor at this point. Joel needs age and dog years. No, 100%. And it's unfortunate because it's not even like... We've seen this with big men. This is the story of big men in the NBA. That's why Shaq having so many healthy years was unbelievable at his size. And so if you're Joel Embiid, to have to go through this process again at 32 years old, and you're not a 6'6" shooting guard, you're a how tall is he? 7'1", like 350 or whatever. Like, it's not the same. And he's gonna come back thinking he's still the MVP of the league. But that's just not the case at that age. And then you're gonna try to win in those next 2 years. Oh, my internet super dropped. Holy shit. All right, we back. I think we back. All right, we back. I say big men aren't supposed to love like that, and he should opt to post up. I say it leads to injuries, and people say I'm old head. I think also, like, some people are just injury prone, right? Like I think when it comes to some of these injuries too, like, it's almost like that's what was supposed to happen to you, right? Like you couldn't have really done anything about it. Cause like for me, for example, when I tore my ACL, at that point in my life, that was probably the best shape that I had been in. Like, no bullshit. When I tore my ACL in high school, at that point, that was the best shape I had gotten into. And so there was just no rhyme or reason for how or what happened to me. It just is what it is. But yeah, I think Joel Embiid should just retire, man. I think he should just retire. Take the bread that he got, invest it, do what he got to do instead of dealing with the headache of rehabbing, being frustrated, coming back thinking he's better or he's more capable than he actually is, and then having to get dealt with the harsh reality of you're 32, you're old, injured, and you can't play like you can anymore. Like Embiid looks like he's 38 right now. That's the crazy part. He looks like he's 38 right now. Like that's what LeBron is supposed to look like. That's crazy. Blake, Odom, and Joel. Look at Jokic, Dirk. I think that's fair. Those guys play more big style. I don't think it's a direct 1-to-1, but I think it's a factor. Let me see. I'm just trying to think of like the movements, right? Because like Joel loves the Euro. And you got to think about someone that size putting that much torque and pressure on your knees to do these Euro steps when you could just, yeah, maybe to an extent you have a point, but the other part in it is when I think of like you think of Jokic. Jokic makes some really slick moves too. Like he hits people with some Euros and whatnot. But yeah, man, it's unfortunate because Joel Embiid was an MVP and he still becomes a what if story. Right? He still becomes a what if story. And meanwhile, his good old buddy, Ben Simmons, over in the Clippers, man. Over in the Clippers. I got no faith in that man no more. I'm not defending that motherfucker no more, bro. I'm not doing it. I've done it for too long. Because when I see a 6'10" athlete in basketball that's athletic, has court vision, I'm like, oh shit, that looks good. But in reality, it don't work. First of all, there's only so many times he can keep using mental health, right? Like, there has to be you can only use this 3 times. He uses it 3 times every month. Like, there's got to be a cap, bro. So, I don't know. I'm curious to see what that looks like. But I've been yapping for long enough, man. That's going to do it for me for now. I appreciate y'all, as always, for hanging out with me. Y'all are the fucking goats. Thank you guys so much for the love. Before I get out of here, please like, comment, and subscribe. All that good stuff. It really helps the channel out. Trying to take this to the moon, as y'all already know. But that's going to do it for me for now, man. Thank you guys so much. I will see y'all later. I will be back on Friday. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if we're going to do our regular time on Friday or if I'm going to go in earlier. We'll see because I do have some stuff planned. But yeah, we'll see what happens on Friday. If I get on earlier, I'll get on earlier. But if not, we'll catch me at around the same time as always. Don't tell him that let a coach say online, Ben says mental health. What does that mean? But Ben will pull that shit out when it's necessary, man. He that's his shit. That's his move. That's his go-to. You know how people got signature moves? You know how people got signature moves? That's his signature move. That's is the mental health. That's his signature move. Lover boy Jayson. Hey, you feel me? You feel me? But Sam gets back this week. She'll get back, but we'll see what happens on Friday. I'll probably, in all likelihood, I'll probably get on earlier. Because I'll probably have stuff to do in the afternoon. But in other words, I'll just see y'all later, man. Thank you guys so much as always. Y'all could have been anywhere on the internet, but y'all were here with me, man. And I appreciate y'all as always. I'll see y'all later, man. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day, man. I'll see y'all Friday. Peace. Peace out, Elijah. You're the fucking GOAT. I'll see you later, brother. Peace, peace, peace. Big Bruce, I'll see you later.